Tip number 94, the voice and trauma. So with the voice, when people speak to us, we're listening on all sorts of levels. So it's not just on the physical level with the voice. We're also listening to the tension, the history, and the things that have happened to that person on an unconscious level. They are communicating to us. Communication is amazing. It really is. I mean, what trauma does to the body is it contracts in a certain area, and unless it's released, or unless you actually go into that memory and release that trauma, it actually produces things like shallow breathing, a stress response, the stress response that happened when the trauma happened to you. And often in trauma release work, what happens with a person is that their voice is released after they've released the trauma, and they'll have a deeper, more resonant or more rounded voice without having done any voice work. You know, when you speak to your mother or someone you really love on the phone, and all of a sudden you can hear when they get emotional, you can hear when their voice changes and they're crying, and they drop into their emotions. The voice reflects that. Well, on a level that we can't actually physically hear, it's the same with the trauma that happens to people, anybody who is talking to us on a day-to-day level. So with voice production, what we're going to do is a series of breathing techniques that bypass or that help us to open areas of the body or areas of the resonators where we resonate our voice that have been contracted from trauma. Now, a trauma could be, in our society today, unfortunately, we have a lot of physical, violent and sexual trauma. And when I'm working with a student for acting training, or when I'm working with a client for trauma release work, it's no different. You're still working with a human. But what I want you to understand is that the seat of that vibration of the experience that happened to you is still lodged in your being in an unconscious way until you choose to heal it and to let it go. So as you let it go, you'll create more resonance, a warmth, a vibration in your voice. As you collect all those experiences that have happened to you, and even the unconscious ones that you don't want to think about, that you feel that you've rejected, they actually get encompassed into your whole being, into your aura, as a sum total of who you are today, in all your human beauty. And so your voice is going to reflect that. So if in voice work someone says, oh my goodness, your voice is very tight, you're breathing very high, and your voice is kind of stuck in the back of your throat, what's actually going on here? What are the things we need to release from your thought process, from your history, a trauma that you had, your habitual tension, your tendency to breathe shallowly? Everything is related to all your experience. And the beauty of that is often we just have to find the seat of that trauma and how old you were. I love to study Tibetan Buddhism, so I'm a great believer in past lives. So I would say, and for some people, I have found the trauma in a past life. For myself as well, I have released the trauma from a past life that actually helped me to become more empowered in this life. So everything is healable. That's what's so fantastic. So take a deep breath. Literally, when you hear somebody say, okay, take a deep breath, everyone. Actually, really stop. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Check in with your center. And on the outward breath, let go consciously of where you're holding on. Because trauma creeps in all sorts of places. It's very, very clever. Thank you very much. See you in the next tip.